where can we reset the foundation here? How can we become more sturdy in this area and be less stressed and allow ourselves the space to kind of assess the situation instead of keep going on autopilot through the stress of it and dealing with it and tolerating it when you know it could feel better, it could be different. Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of the Badass Manifester podcast. This episode will close the loop on the story that I shared in our birth story, the ending of that episode. If you have not yet listened to our birth story episode, go back and listen to it. I appreciate everyone who reached out, who did share their thoughts on it, their feelings, their stories with me. I really, really appreciated every single person that had reached out to me. You know, as women, we go through such unique yet universal experiences of giving birth, and it's something that is so similar, yet everyone has such a different experience. And I'm just really grateful for everyone who reached out to me and shared their story with me. So thank you. And I'm excited to kind of close the loop on this and share about our postpartum experience. So I have my mom here, and I started the last episode with, or I closed out the last episode with sharing that the day we were coming home from the hospital, she had fallen in CVS, and we weren't sure if she broke a bone or what had happened. And so we're going to share that story with you. But overall, I will just set up the story by saying that my postpartum experience can be broken up into a few main themes. And that was, you know, dealing with my mom breaking her, or not breaking her shoulder. We'll tell you in a second. I had extreme postpartum anxiety. I had extreme anxiety around seeing people, having people hold the baby, getting too close to the baby. I became a very anxious germaphobe, and that was a horrible experience, but also taught me lots of things. And then the third thing that was a theme for me was just dealing with my husband going back to work after 2 weeks of being home. That was really challenging, and I'll go more into that. And then just working through everything with my mom that came after what had happened with her, which we'll get into. So I have my mama here.
Hello, everyone. This is Sherry, otherwise known as Wiser and Still Bougie.
Oh, my mom has an Instagram account. I love how you're just shamelessly promoting it right now. Wiser and Still Bougie. And she is. She's wiser and still bougie. So, Mom, what happened when you called me from the CVS? I was in the hospital, and you were like, I just fell.
I had tried to prepare the house for when they came home. So I was going to make a picture to put it in a frame that had been given to Ashley.
How sweet is that? Well, like a picture of Maverick, right?
Maverick, yeah. A picture of the baby that we took from the couple days I was with them in the hospital. Unfortunately, I tripped. I tripped, and I knew right away after I was able to catch my breath that something wasn't right. I couldn't get up. I couldn't move my whole right side, and I certainly couldn't move my arm. So it seemed like forever till they got to me, but they insisted I go to the hospital. I didn't want to go, but I was stuck.
So when you called me, you were going to the hospital, and we didn't know.
I was waiting
She was waiting to go, so we didn't know what the case was at that point.
Right. And I got to the hospital, and they wanted to give me something for pain, and I said no. I have, that's a whole nother podcast, but
yes, we did an episode on it, but my mom has been in recovery for years and years. So I was so proud of you that you. But do you remember what I said to you when you called me?
No.
I was like, if you're in that much pain, like do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, but I was afraid. Yeah. No, I took Tylenol. I was fine. I just was running through my head, oh my God, she's coming home. I'm here to help her and Todd and the baby. I was going to cook every night. I had all this food to cook. I was going to nourish my daughter, let her rest. And now she ended up taking care of me. P.S. I broke my shoulder. They put a sling on me and sent me to see my own orthopedic doctor.
So thank God that was like the worst case scenario, because like
I didn't need surgery.
Yeah, she did need surgery on the spot.
It was a clean break.
Thank God it was a clean break. And it was just also such a heartbreaking moment because we were so excited, and all my mom wanted to do was hold her grandson because after he was born, she was there for everything, but she didn't get to hold him because it was just so late and she had to get home. And so we just kept visualizing her. My friends were praying for her that she wouldn't need surgery, that she would be home. And we were just imagining her holding the baby. And that was what happened. She came home. She held him in her left arm. Of course, it had to be her right arm, right?
Yeah. Ugh. But, things happen. And then I was thinking, Ashley had all these plans. I was supposed to move to her stepmother's house to be close by, yet give them space, but not be in the house. But I couldn't do anything. I couldn't cook. I couldn't put my coat on. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. I was helpless. And I'm very stubborn, and it's very hard for me to accept help. Here I am she just had a baby, and she's all concerned about the baby, of course, and she hadn't slept, and now she's got to take care of me. But everything, thank God, it wasn't her plan, but best laid plans are just sometimes not meant to be. Yeah. And that was what would happen in this case. So
yeah, I definitely needed to pull on the resources that I learned from the birthing experience of just letting go of the plan, letting go of the plan. And for some reason, it felt really more challenging to let this plan go. I don't know why, because it was just such a solid plan for so long that this is what we were going to do. And it just didn't pan out that way. And we also had a baby nurse in the house. So when we got home, there was a lot of people around, which is beautiful. And also it was overwhelming. And I think a little bit created more anxiety for us, or for me. But like my mom said, sometimes things don't go the way we plan them to. But ultimately, it ended up working out. There's a lesson that I actually forgot about, and I forgot to share it in the first episode of our birth story, and that was when the doula and I were downstairs and contractions were not picking up and things were not really progressing, and I wanted to go upstairs and be by myself. I remember her coming up with me briefly and kind of tucking me in essentially, and then going back downstairs. And I said, do you feel like there's something in my way? And she said, I'm feeling that there's resistance. And I was like, resistance? What do you mean? What do you mean resistance? And she's like, I'm feeling like there's resistance of you going to the next phase of this labor, and resistance to the pain that maybe I thought was coming. And so I can't believe I forgot to put this in the episode, but it was meant to be in this episode. And so I remember sitting with that, thinking to myself, okay, if I am resisting, what am I resisting? Okay, I'm resisting feeling more pain. Okay, so maybe that's why my contractions are not getting to the place where they need to be in order to move things along, because it's just this fear of the unknown. And I remember thinking to myself, all right, Ashley, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Let go of this resistance right now and just lean in. Lean into the moment, lean into what's here. You're either going to prolong this yourself or you're going to lean into it and let it happen. And so I was able to lean in and let it happen and overcome. And I feel like this lesson I want to put right here in the episode, because the same thing happened, with postpartum. Is like I had to lean into the unknown. I had to stop the resistance that I was initially feeling to like, oh my gosh, this is such a new reality. I mean, when you first come home from the hospital, you think you have your shit together at home and in your house and like everything is in place. And then you have to go on Amazon and go to Target and order a million more things. You have to rearrange everything. You have to get into this whole new flow. Like you are in the trenches when you come home. And so there was a lot of that happening. Back to my mom, her staying ended up being the biggest blessing, because I remember talking to her and walking with her and talking about having to hire a nanny and thinking about having to hire someone and just what that process would be like, and how, just having to start that process and thinking about when she was going to leave, the nurse was also going to leave at the same time. And so it was like everybody was leaving at the same time, and I was really stressed out about that. And my mom turned to me and said, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. Right?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to reassure her that she's not alone.
Yeah.
That, whenever she needs, I'm here.
And I'm so lucky to have that in my mama.
Thank you.
So lucky that you are here. And my mom, for those of you who don't know, she was a nanny in Florida. So she was already doing nannying, not for a baby, but for, a little bit older, 6-year-old and 8-year-old. So, are you crying?
No.
Oh, so we're on a walk and I said, you will stay? And I was like, well, why don't you just become our nanny? Remember that?
Mm-hmm. You said, I haven't discussed it with Todd, but would you consider being our nanny? And now I'm going to cry. I was speechless. She has never asked me to do anything in any way for her. She's always kind of taken care of me, honestly. And I was just so emotionally joyful. I mean, is that the right word? Emotionally joyful? But I was just so taken back that she would want me to be her nanny, besides being her mom. So I said, oh my God, of course. And so she said, I haven't discussed it with Todd, so let's just put it on the back burner for now. And that's what we did. And obviously she talked to Todd, and then she said, it's official, Mom.
Okay, hold on. You jumped the gun. There's so much more in between there.
There is?
I think so. I mean, I was nervous about it. I didn't know if it was the right decision, but it felt like the right decision. And it felt comfortable and comforting, obviously. Like, who else would I want to have around my child for that many hours of the day? And who else would I want to be around for that long? So there was that piece of it. But also, if she never broke her arm, she wouldn't have been there long enough to even have that conversation. I honestly don't think it would have crossed my mind.
Right.
It wouldn't have.
I don't think so. I don't know.
It might have, but it wouldn't have felt as...
I already was...
She was already doing what she was already nannying. Yeah, she was already watching him, helping me during the day, changing him. She knew his rhythms. She knew his cries. She knew, when you're around a baby long enough, you get to know the baby, and she already knew the baby.
Right.
And baby loved her, obviously.
So then you said to me, well, we're going to try. How about we do this? How about we try it for 3 months?
Yeah.
And I mean, I want you to be happy, meaning she wanted me to be happy as much as she wanted to be happy. And the baby, of course. So I thought that was a really fair deal.
Yeah, it felt like, okay, let's trial this out and see what was happening. I mean, she had already been living with us for like months. And I was like, all right, you got to get out of our house. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not kidding.
No, I mean, we were used to it.
Yeah, we got in a groove.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. It's not rainbows and butterflies all the time. We have our stuff. We work through it. It was really hard in the beginning, actually.
It was, because I had been living in Florida for a long time, like 8 years, and I wasn't used to the cold, and I hate the cold. That's why I moved. And I have my apartment still in Florida, and all my things are still in Florida. My car is still in Florida.
Luckily, we have an extra car. We had a place to put her outside of our house. My stepmom, it was so kind and let her use her summer house.
Because she's in Florida.
Shout out, Bev. We love you. You're the best.
So it was a little gray for me for a little bit. And it reflected into Ashley's and my relationship. We would take things each other said and interpret it the wrong way and internalize it personally, and it never was meant to be that way.
Yeah, and then just like, even
Mother-daughter stuff,
but also like things from childhood would come up for me, like that projections and whatever. So a lot of things. My mom's looking at me like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about, Willis? Anyway.
That'll be another
Things
episode.
have been really nice, I have to say.
Well, we had an intervention.
Yeah, my son-in-law was like, what is going on with you girls?
Because we were getting nasty.
I was ready to go. I was ready to get on that bird and fly home. But you know what? This is my home now. My children, my grandson. I cannot tell you the joy that I feel every day, waking up, getting in the shower, and knowing I have to come here, knowing I will see my baby and my baby's baby. And to watch you be a mom has brought me
We're both crying now.
so much joy. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks, Mama. I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, we're crying.
Anyway, it's all good. It's all happy tears.
It feels really nice to be witnessed in it too. You know what I mean? Like to have someone witness me doing it. Like it's, I don't know. There's something to being witnessed.
Validation.
Yeah.
No, it's like when you were little and I'd hold your hand and tell you you did a good job. You would smile and be happy.
Right.
But you are doing a great job.
Thank you. You're doing a great job too.
This is my second time around. I'm a pro.
You're a pro now, definitely. I mean, she did a pretty good job, I'd say.
I'd say too.
So, my mom breaking her arm, I always call it your arm, your shoulder, your arm. It turned out to be like a huge blessing, even though it fucking sucked for you to be in pain. I hate seeing you in pain, but you handled it like a champion. You're such a strong woman. You a strong bitch. Yeah. You strong. Yeah.
You just do it. You just do what you have to do.
You get through 100%
of your worst days.
Boom. Write that down. So yeah, that was cool. So now my mom is our nanny and we're thriving. We're thriving. Okay, so now I'll circle back to being a germaphobe. That's really hard. So we're Jewish, and in the Jewish religion, you do a bris. And a bris is like an 8-day thing where you do, at 8 days after being born, you do a circumcision. You bring a moil, it's called, and they're trained to circumcise. And I don't know who decided that one shall ever have to host 8 days after giving birth, but you're supposed to have the bris
in the immediate family
and your immediate family at your house and host a brunch or a breakfast most of the time. And that felt extremely, extremely stressful for me. I couldn't even handle the stress of it. I was losing my mind. I didn't want anybody around my son. I didn't want anyone breathing on him, touching him. I didn't want him being passed around. I didn't want any germs in the space. it was so, so, so hard. And like my father-in-law was flying in from Florida for this. So he was going to be fresh off an airplane. And then, you know, all my nieces and nephews, they are out and about in the world, and COVID's in the world and other germs. And it was just like way too much for me emotionally. It was just really, really hard. And Todd was so amazing. I mean, he was just like, I will take care of everything. You don't have to worry about anything. Like, I will do it all. And he was just superhuman, like really took care of everything and helped me have ease that I needed and ease my mind so much every day. And I think that's really challenging when you come home from the hospital with your partner. Sometimes the men, they don't know what to do necessarily, because a lot of the times it's on the woman to take care of the baby. It's on, you know, you're feeding the baby, and that's a full-time job in and of itself in the beginning, every 2-3 hours. So the men can really step in and support you. He would constantly fill up my water bottle. He would make sure that I was fed. He would make sure that the kitchen was clean, that the trash was taken out. He would check on my mom to make sure she was okay. He would walk the dogs. I mean, he was the doer, so that I could just be with the baby and like be in my, have nothing in my head and just be working on my healing. And so I appreciated him so much. I still do, obviously. And that was huge. And then, you know, having him go back to work so soon, 2 weeks off for him is a huge deal in and of itself. And it just felt really hard. I'm like, you only have a newborn for 7 weeks. Like, you're going to miss everything. And I was just so in my head about what he would miss. And all day long when he wasn't there, I would be sending him pictures and videos and being like, oh my gosh, and this and this and that. And I just wanted him to experience every little thing that I was experiencing. And luckily I had my mom there to experience those things with me, because I didn't want him to miss anything. And I wanted someone else to enjoy it. And he didn't miss anything. But, you know, working through that growing pain, because the reality is that the man's life doesn't change as much as the woman's life changes initially. It is so drastically different for the mom in the relationship, or the one who gives birth and the one who feeds the child. It is so, so, so different for us. But for them, it's just not the same. And I had a hard time with that. I was like, this isn't fair. It's like built-in resentment, right? Like, I already resent you just because you can't breastfeed the baby. And I had to work through that and get through like the initial shock of, that's just what is now. You know, it's just the reality, and it's going to be okay. And he can do other things, and he can show up in other ways and provide in other ways. And he does all the time, every day. And, it was just an interesting transition, an adjustment.
And a learning curve for you.
Yeah, and a learning curve for me, for sure. And for him. I mean, we're all still learning. It's so much about communication and being direct. I'm finding that men need very exact instructions on how to take care of anything and everything, including a baby. Things that I would intuitively just know how to do, or would assume that most people would know how to do. He needs to be told exactly how to do things. And all the mamas out there, I know that you know what I'm talking about, because I know that I'm not alone in that. And that was also very frustrating for me, because I'm like, don't you just know? Don't you just get it? Yeah, it was like, whoa. So, okay, back to the bris. I had to like cut the list way, way down. I kept it to just immediate family. And as soon as it was over, I basically just went upstairs and took the baby up with me, and that was it. So I was so happy and relieved when the bris was over. Those first 8 days hormonally are just on another level anyway. And I was just really grateful to have the support of a nurse and my mom emotionally, even if she couldn't physically do, you know, what she was originally planning to do. So I am not someone that's afraid to ask for help. I thrive on asking for help and getting support. I have no problem outsourcing things such as laundry and chores and dishes and, I don't know, feeding the baby, whatever. So that was huge. And then the first couple nights I started, when my milk came in, I did start pumping right away, and the baby did get a bottle right away of my breast milk. And that was extremely helpful because the nurse was able to give him the bottles at night, and I would be able to sleep as much as I could until I needed to pump again. And I would get up just to pump, which was much quicker than feeding. So there was that piece of it as well that was extremely helpful. Such a game changer. I don't know if I said this, but I truly recommend getting a nurse if you have the means to get a nurse, a night nurse, or our nurse was 24 hours. I can't recommend it enough. The support in that and the learning. I learned so much from having a nurse. So much, like how to bathe a baby, how to change a baby, how to do this, how to do that. Just so many things. Like the do's and don'ts, like things that
we wouldn't have any idea.
We would not have had any idea of. Obviously, you figure it out. I would have Googled, I would have YouTubed, whatever. But I mean, it was an investment that was well worth it. And it set us up for so much success when she left. So shout out Franca. Franca's amazing. Amazing. Okay, so the postpartum anxiety, I would say, was at its peak the first 2 weeks. Really strong. Really strong anxiety, really just worried about everything.
But you hadn't slept.
Yeah, but it was like a lack of sleep and just the hormones, and there's just so much happening, and you're in diapers for the first month. There's just a lot happening. A lot. You're in the trenches when you come home. I probably already said that, but it's a lot. It's a lot of newness happening at one time. And then the other major thing postpartum that was happening was, because the nurse was so amazing and taught us so much, so many things that I didn't know, I started to develop a belief. And it wasn't her fault. It was from her experience that she was sharing this with us and with me. But the belief was that even though I had a great supply of milk, it was that my baby wasn't going to be full from breastfeeding from me, and that we would always have to give him a bottle to top him off, or in place of a feeding, or for him to sleep, right? So I had this belief that he wasn't going to get full enough to sleep, or he wasn't going to get full enough from me, and I would just be sitting there breastfeeding all day long on demand and not be able to really even get up off the couch because I'd be breastfeeding all day long. And so what I decided was that, okay, I'll just pump more. And she was encouraging that, yes, the more you pump, the more you have milk, the more freedom you have. You can leave the house, you could do things. And that was very appealing to me. So I started pumping. It started off 1 to 2 times a day. Then it became 3 times a day. Then it became 4 or 5 times a day. Then it got up to 6 to 8 times a day. And I was getting a little bit miserable from doing that. And I was getting really stressed out because I didn't have any milk frozen. I didn't have any reserve of milk in the basically in the fridge. I just had milk for his next meal. So for all the mamas out there who are familiar with breastfeeding, you know that could be very stressful to only have made enough milk for their next meal. But the stressful part about that was, your supply changes throughout the day, and there's some times when you're making more milk than others. And if I was pumping for his next meal and I wouldn't make enough in that pump session for it, then I would get really stressed. So for example, if he was taking 4 ounces, which he wasn't at that time, but let's just say if he was taking 4 ounces in one session and I was only making 1.5 to 2 ounces, then what was I going to do? And then he would have to breastfeed from me afterwards. And what if he wasn't getting enough? And what if he wasn't full? So I was running myself ragged, pumping with no reserves. And I was so upset about it and so stressed out about it, I almost gave up. This was 2 months in. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the end of my breastfeeding journey. I can't go on like this. And I had a talk with a few different friends, but my one friend, Maggie, put it to me in such a good way. And she was like, you just need to reset your foundation. And I was like, yeah, I just need to reset my foundation. Like, I need to just breastfeed and see what happens. And I need to rewire that belief that he wasn't getting full, because it wasn't necessarily true. It was just a belief that I had. And so I stopped pumping and I just breastfed for 24 hours and I reset my entire foundation. So I figured however much milk he needs, I'm just going to breastfeed him on demand. And I just didn't leave the house for that time and I just fed him. And what I learned from that experiment was he actually was getting full for 2 to 3 hour periods, even if he would feed for like 10 to 12 minutes. And I was shocked because as they get older, they get more efficient at feeding. And so he was feeding for shorter periods and staying full. And I was literally mind blown. And I'm so grateful for that conversation that I had with my friend, because her just reminding me to reset the foundation was such a powerful lesson, just not only for breastfeeding, but in everything, because I kind of take that into my business too, right? But we'll get into that later. And so I literally had to just reset the entire foundation for breastfeeding. And I started only pumping in the morning and at night, 2 times a day, if I wanted to. I didn't put pressure on myself. I was planning on just breastfeeding him every single meal. And even for that nighttime feed, the feed right before bedtime, I didn't think that he would be full off of my breastfeeding session with him. And he was. And that night I remember getting more hours of sleep than we had ever had before. And I don't know if you know this, but breast milk at night has melatonin in it. So that could have helped too, because maybe I was giving him a bottle from the daytime milk that didn't have melatonin in it for nighttime. You never know. But anyway, I got more sleep that night, and so did he. And I only breastfed him. And I felt like that was the universe saying to me, you need to follow your instincts, because I will tell you, when I was pumping all that time and I was feeling so miserable and so stressed out, something told me this isn't right. I knew that something was wrong intuitively in my intuition. I knew that something was off and I wasn't listening to myself. And I knew that that belief wasn't true and I wasn't listening to myself. I could just feel it in my body even back when I was just pumping and it wasn't stressful yet. I felt like I was exclusively pumping. And I was like, this isn't the vision that I had. Like, I can breastfeed. He latched. I have the supply. Why am I not breastfeeding? I know other women breastfeed. I know some babies don't even take a bottle. So there definitely are babies who are getting full just from the boob. And I remember Googling, can a baby get full from the boob in 10 minutes? And it was like, yes, they can drain your boob in 10 minutes. Like, it was just, I had to shatter that belief, but I knew in my heart of hearts that it wasn't true, and I just wasn't listening to my intuition. So it was also a huge, huge lesson in motherhood and in life to listen to my gut, because my gut was telling me the entire time. And you know when you know something and you just know it? You just know it, right? You just freaking know what's right for you, and you don't follow it, and then you're kicking yourself afterwards. But in this case, it was like a huge lesson learned, and I knew it. So switching over to this exclusively breastfeeding, resetting the foundation, is such a huge lesson for all of us, because whatever is not working in your life or whatever feels hard or is stressing you out, I want you to just ask yourself, where can I reset my foundation? Where can we reset the foundation here? How can we become more sturdy in this area and be less stressed and allow ourselves the space to kind of assess the situation instead of keep going on autopilot through the stress of it and dealing with it and tolerating it when you know it could feel better, it could be different. So I want to offer that to you, because that was such a huge, huge lesson for me to like really reset the foundation. And then that kind of just led into, as my 3-month maternity leave was closing, how do I want to reset the foundation in the way that I show up in my business? How do I want to reset the foundation of, this new identity that I have now of mom, of business owner, of wife, of all of it integrated into one? What is the foundation of who I am at this moment in time, and how am I moving forward? So it's such a powerful experience and lesson to just like step back and decide how we want to show up to things that don't quite feel right, because we don't have to keep pushing on in a direction that feels really heavy or feels really daunting or feels really out of alignment at the end of the day. So that's really a big like look inside my postpartum journey. I feel really blessed. I think that, you know, I have so many tools in my toolbox, and I think that all of my tools have really helped me in self-awareness and like being able to be real with myself and say, okay, I think I need help here, or I'm good, or, you know, what do I need to feel supported? And just really going deeper in my communication with my husband and even my mom, just to be able to kind of deepen our relationship and also get on the same page, because I do believe that through connection, everything is possible. And so when I'm connected to myself, when I'm connected to Todd, when I'm connected to my mom, when I'm connected to the baby, from that space, there's like just so much energy that can be created. And yeah, it's just like connection is everything to me. And so this whole experience has been about connecting, and connecting to the tools that I need to get through it, to the emotions that are there, to the feelings that are present, to allowing myself to feel everything that was there, to being on the same page with my partner, with my mom. There's just so much there. And it all comes from being willing to connect and being willing to allow myself to be seen, and processing my experience, because that was a huge part of my healing, was it being able to kind of process my experience and really allow myself to heal. And thankfully, having my mom and the nurse was really great, because they were able to kind of remind me, like, you need to rest. You need to heal. Like, that's what's going to make you a better mama, because you're going to be more rested and you're going to be more capable of healing and all that good stuff. So I think a few things just to share that really helped me postpartum was, number one, asking for the support that I needed. Majorly, that was huge. Secondly, hiring a baby nurse was such a game changer in our experience. Highly, highly recommend. Third, allowing myself to rest, allowing myself to heal, knowing that I have to heal. I can't tell you how many stories of moms who've told me, even with C-sections, that they had to go back to work right away, or they did too much initially. They did way too much and their healing was prolonged. They were in pain for longer because they didn't allow themselves the time and space to do that. So resting was just, I know it seems so simple, but really, really huge. I would say 4, really letting myself off the hook of not having to do anything as far as like be any sort of productive. I was Netflix and chilling like really hard as much as possible. 5 was really just really being in gratitude for my baby, and in gratitude for the way that he was progressing every day, thriving every day, seeing every single little milestone, celebrating every single little milestone was just so important to us. And, you know, wishing him a happy birthday every day pretty much, and just admiring him every single day, being in so much gratitude for the gift that he was. And he was born right around Thanksgiving, and that was such a blessing. It was like so beautiful to have him. And I remember Todd coming in our bed every day being like, is this our child? Do we have a son? Is he really ours? He's ours? Oh, hey, we have a kid. I still say to him, hey, we have a kid. Even 4 months in, we're like, hey, we have a kid. So yeah, I'm recording this 4 months postpartum. I don't know if I said that already. That's another thing that happens, is like your brain just isn't the same as it was before. So sometimes I forget things that I said or want to say. Happens all the time. Another thing that really helped me postpartum was support from friends that were also new moms. Like, I can't tell you how grateful I am for my close friends who have either just become mom, 6-7 months ago, or literally 10 days before me, or 10 days after me. I have such a great, solid new mom group, and I'm so grateful for them because we can compare experiences. We can talk about the blowouts that we've had. We can talk about, just everything from being in the 3 a.m. club to, just little things here and there that you don't even think about before you have a baby, that are like women that are in the trenches with you. And then also just a shout out to my best friends who all have, 2-3-year-old babies who have gone through this and have like so much wisdom to give to me around just letting me know that I'm going to get through this. Everything that I'm feeling is temporary. Everything that I'm worried about is going to pass. And just advice along the way is like and so much love. They sent me beautiful food and packages, and yeah, just so much love in the process. And they're my best friends in the world. So they care so much about my well-being. And I felt really, really supported in our friendships and grateful for their take on motherhood and the different seasons of motherhood. And I'm like, you know what? It's no wonder why I was the last of my friends to get pregnant and have a baby. I am getting so much good shit from this. Like, they are helping me with so many things that they had to navigate on their own. And that experience is, it's priceless. So those are just a few things that I wanted to share that helped me postpartum. I know that so many people have such a unique postpartum experience. I send love to everyone who has struggled postpartum, who has been in the trenches, who has gone through postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. And if you're listening to this and you're in this, I want to encourage you to get the help that you need and to not be ashamed of getting that help, because support is everything and there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. If anything, it's going to make you a better mom, a better partner, and a happier you. And that's in turn going to just give you so many more blessings in your life. So wherever you are on your postpartum journey, meet yourself there and know that it's safe for you to take what you need and ask and get the support that you need. And most importantly, you are not alone. I think a lot of women think that they're just so alone. Nobody gets it. And I know some of my closest, bestest friends have felt that way. And you're not alone. So get the help that you need. Reach out to someone for support and reach out and take what you need. And something that I wanted to share to close out this episode that I really appreciated from women who have reached out from our birth story, they shared that me sharing my story empowered them to share theirs, and that they feel called to record their story now and they want to share it with the world or with their community or whoever. And that makes my heart so happy. It's because our stories help heal each other. And so this is just my story, but I'm sure you have a story too. And if you want to share it with me, feel free to message me. I would love your feedback from this episode. I'm at thequantum.coach on Instagram, or record your own story. You can do it in podcast form, YouTube form, go on Facebook, whatever it is, or even just for your own personal record to have your story shared just privately with yourself, like writing it out, acknowledging your experience. It's a really healing process. So I encourage you to do that. If you feel called, if you have that inkling, do it. Follow that intuition, follow your nudge. And just to go back to the intuition piece of the breastfeeding thing that I was sharing with you about, like resetting the foundation, and I knew that something was wrong in my intuition, like just to end this on intuition, because I think that's like one of our greatest gifts as women, is to follow our intuition and to trust ourselves and to trust our guts. And at the end of the day, through all of this, one of the greatest lessons of my postpartum journey has been to listen to my intuition the second that I get the download. And so I want to remind you, mama listening, human listening, person listening, your voice is speaking to you, and nobody knows it better than you. Nobody knows what to do more than you. Nobody knows how to navigate this new identity better than you. And so listen to your gut and follow it, because it will not lead you in the wrong direction. And on that note, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. I can't wait to hear your feedback from this episode. Tag me, message me, whatever. And I'll talk to you guys so soon. Have a beautiful day. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fan. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at Manifest with Ash. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.